Say hello again. This is Brian Wallace over at CLA, your laundry association, with some more laundry conversations. Can't get enough of that. And I'm very pleased this time around to be joined by Alex Jekowsky at Sense, our founder and fearless leader here at Sense. So good to have you on the podcast with us.
Well, great to be here, and thanks for making the trip out to New York and being in Sense Suds or in all this laundromat. And it's
Well,
it's good to be here.
This am I on your podcast? Are you on my podcast? This is very confusing.
That's the thing. All this together. We're all working in the same direction for the
Yeah.
same boat. It's nice. It's nice to play maybe a little bit of a home game.
No doubt about. Well, tell us where we are for everybody watching. Give us a sense of what we're doing.
So we are in kind of the heart of downtown Manhattan at the new Sense office. We've only been here for a month or two, but really important thing. We were kind of looking at different spaces to be able to have obviously a productive environment and a fun environment for our team, but we have really tried to live the experience of our operators as much as possible. So we're building really a almost full laundromat, maybe not washer and dryer hookup necessarily, but a full walk and fold setup. We have all of our hardware for our on-machine equipment, and this is a place that we like to obviously produce a lot of content, but also, when we put something out in the market, you want to make sure that we tested it ourselves. We're using it all the time. We can troubleshoot, replicate, understand what's happening in the field. So we love having our little
very realistic. I think you need to work on the fragrance. Now I need softener, bleach. Like we need to really pad it out with the real 5 senses.
Exactly. We're working on like a custom scent that we can put out there. These things take a little bit of time, but no, it's fun to be able to have this.
Well, I'm glad it's worked out where we could all do this together, and it's just part of our ongoing series of wanting to spend some time with our strategic corporate ally partners and friends in the business and talking about what's going on in the industry, which we'll try not to make this 3 hours, but there's a lot to talk about. And I guess kind of the first thing that struck me when I walked in today is just what a year this has been for the industry, but for you all in particular. I mean, talking about Series B, talking about the acquisition at LaundryWorks and 10 other things I'm sure I'm not thinking of right now. So as we're recording this, as we get into December of 2024, what are your thoughts on the year that's about to wrap and just kind of where you were a year ago to where you are today? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't so long where we weren't even in the industry at all. I think we were about to turn four, I think, as a company in January. So and I thought about this a lot over, not just during Thanksgiving, but also we had our company offsite with not everybody on our team, but 60 or 70 of us down in Nashville, inviting operators, some really amazing people to speak. And it was another one of those moments of like, holy crap, it's kind of what a privilege and amazing thing. There's just so much gratitude that I have, I know our entire team has, to be able to have you in our office, to be able to be in the position that we're in now, where I think 3,200 locations in the U.S. using our products. And of course we have some businesses outside of the U.S. But yeah, I mean we're I think maybe over 10 or 12% market share so far, at least using one of our products. And we have so many, I think, amazing and exciting things that we're going to be building next year, and to be profitable, to be at the stage of business that, again, like when I started, I felt like we could get here. I felt like we built the right product, we did it the right way, and there were a lot of lessons and learnings along the way, and a lot of moments of, wait a second, there are people that do things better than we do, and we need to sit back and learn and go a little bit slower and be more methodical. And I think what's been so amazing about the LaundryWorks partnership, and really understanding the hardware side of the business and the importance that serves to the operators, the different elements of payment systems. It's not just credit and debit. Loyalty card plays such a huge role, and how installation works, and we're building closer relationships with distributors. So it's been a huge learning experience. But yeah,
I remember, I don't know if it was last year at this time or the year before, I remember sitting in your other office up the street and you said something like, hardware is hard. There's a reason they call it hardware.
Yeah, exactly. I think hard. It's because it's hard.
And I'm like, that's so on point.
I think I take things for granted when I use my iPhone. When I use anything, I take the software for granted. Why isn't it moving as fast as I want it to? Why would there ever be an issue? Why do I got to hard reset something? Why do I have to do those things? And then when you build it, you're like, I know all the intricate little pieces. And every company, every vendor struggles with the same things. And we have we've moved very quickly as a young company. We don't have 20 years, 10 years of building features. We got to get up to par with everybody very quickly and do it the right way. So I think more than anything else, the conversations we have with folks like you, with distributors, with our operators are the greatest sources of truth and lessons, and sometimes brutal truth and sometimes inspiring truth. But that's where we've tried to index more of, because we know that if we do things the right way and we focus on the right areas, focus on the independent operator, we're going to be able to win. And if we win, our operators win. If our operators win, we win. And it's a very symbiotic and cohesive
Well, it
dynamic.
works both ways, right? Because you're pushing us, those that have been with tenure or, longstanding groups like CLA or some of the other, we need that injection, and we need that push, from folks that are taking a fresh look at the business. So I think it's really working well in both directions. And so we got this incredible current year, but I figured for the benefit of folks that may not know a lot about the origin story, it made me think about meeting you in San Francisco, however many years ago that was, when you dropped in on one of our local chapter meetings and started asking some questions about what is this whole laundry business about. So, I mean, maybe you could shed a little light on kind of what brought you out to see us that night, and kind of what led you to, all of a sudden now we're sitting in brick and mortar and we've got a real business here.
Yeah, it is funny to think about that. And I remember, I think I did a presentation at a wash, dry, fold conference maybe 2 years ago, where I had that screenshot of my CLA ticket that I had in my email that I just remember. Right. And I remember going to the event with a friend of mine and somebody who was really instrumental in the initial kind of building of Sense. But I remember going to a meeting after I'd sold my last business, and I had a Planet Laundry magazine in my backpack, and one of those new owner kits that you can get online from the CLA. And I just brought it to a friend of mine, and I was like, I think this industry is kind of crazy. Like, I think this thing is actually an amazing business to be a part of. I know nothing about it. I was actually really interested in the route space, not knowing it was even called route, but my apartment building in San Francisco, I paid an arm and a leg for, still had, 2 sets of machines in the basement. And that felt crazy to me that they were coin operated and how they worked. And so I was like, well, maybe that's the side of the industry that's the most interesting. And because I didn't even think about laundromats. And then I was like, okay, well, if I'm looking at the route space, I'm learning more about, tangentially the laundromat business. And then Planet Laundry, the CLA resources at the time, I was like, okay, this is crazy. I just started Googling more, and I found that there was an event in a couple weeks. And my friend and I remember going to this El Torito in San Leandro. Yeah. I remember that event, and I remember him wanting to split up so we could talk to more people and just pick more brains. And I was a little nervous because I was like, I don't know what operators are like in this industry. I just didn't know SMB in the same kind of way. And it was the most fun getting to talk to people that I'm pretty sure I met Brian Bronkhorst there. I think I did maybe for a minute. And there's so many people that and seeing you and people that now we have the opportunity of working with that I think I just kind of looked up to of, wow, this is like exactly the kind of operator I want to be. And how did they get there? And that, I think, and what we try to do here at Sense a lot is not just think about the how, but the why, right? How do you get somewhere, and why do you do the things you do to arrive at that place? And so by backing into the how do I want to be a great operator myself at that time, it was, why do I want to do it? Well, I want to kind of scratch that itch of entrepreneurship that I wasn't able to do.
It wasn't long after that you started spending a lot of time in laundromats. As I can remember some video calls and you're sitting in the parking lot of a laundromat somewhere, like, Alex,
in Petaluma, the laundry
like you are now hooked on this, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, that was the thing. Once I started to dig deeper into why I love the space and how my approach would be as an operator. And I mean, I would spend weekends, I'd ask people to work inside their stores. I'd go up and down from South Bay Area all the way up to Petaluma and try to visit as many stores, talk to as many people as possible. And then that's when things got put together, because the best thing of this industry is every operator kind of knows what they want. They don't know exactly how they'll get there, but they know what they want their business to look like. And I do think that what technology can either do a positive or negative at is, playing down to their customer, thinking that, they're not that sophisticated. This will just work and this will be sufficient, versus playing up and saying, I think the operators in this industry are far more sophisticated than the average SMB, because they're getting into it not for the love of laundry and the love of wash and fold and folding clothes and fixing their equipment, but for the love of money, for the love of
it's a means to an end. And
exactly.
I think our folks have always been super resourceful in that respect. And in terms of your experience coming the first couple of meetings, very open, very culture of sharing, and not just sort of close to the vest. And I'm not going to tell you my secrets. Generally speaking, most people in this business are willing to share what they've learned. And one thing I think I also wanted to touch on, kind of in this train of thought, is you mentioned having sold your prior business and then looked for the next thing to do. One of the things I've been intrigued hearing from you over the years is understanding technologies are being applied to other industries, other small businesses, and then how can that help the laundry side? And so maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit more about that approach, and maybe give me a couple examples, because I know there's been quite a few of, well, this works over here, could it work over here?
I mean, you're seeing it everywhere, in particular in the public markets, because a lot of these companies have grown so much over time where they're all looking to go public. I mean, Service Titan is a great example, and working with HVAC repairs, more of the repair workers, pool techs, things like that. But I think the first thing that I noticed was there was a sentiment that laundry is so unique that it's the only industry that
we're guilty of that. So you don't understand. We're different.
We're different. And by the way, there's so much truth to that. That's what makes the industry so amazing, because it is so different. But the consumer is not so different than a consumer of another product. The employee of a laundromat is not so different than the employee at other kind of similar S businesses. Could be a bodega or a corner store, could be a car wash, could be whatever it is. And so my first thought in the industry was, what can I steal and learn from other industries and apply it here, both as an operator and now in building sense? I mean, there's Toast for restaurants. There's Gloss Genius, which is a great company in the salon space. And they actually have an interesting model, because a lot of salon stylists don't actually have their own beauty salons.
Right.
They are independent contractors that lease out chairs and bring their own clients and things like that. You have car washes that have been huge in memberships, and all of these parking meters, whatever it is, have had online payments, credit and debit card payments, digital payments. Even if customers want to pay in cash,
right,
they're offering an alternative in payment. And I would hear, oh, well, our customers don't want, our customers don't like. It's like, that could be true, and I'm never going to tell an operator that they're wrong, because they know their business better than I do. But I would say there probably isn't another commercial environment that they don't have the ability to pay in other methods. They might always opt to choose in cash, and that's totally fine. But laundry might be the only one that doesn't offer a choice in some cases, and it makes a lot of sense as to why. Card systems are really expensive. You have many machines in a given store. There's a lot of reasons for that, but that's what kind of looking at what Toast has done in the restaurant space, especially multi-location management, what Gloss Genius have done for salons, what Rinsed has done for car washes, what Service Titan has done for the HVAC repair person and fleet management. And you go down the list, MindBody for gyms and med spas. That when you can find great technology in a vertical, it should be able to actually expand and grow the industry. And when I hear that laundry is a $5 billion market, I hear that, yeah, it's a $5 billion market, dramatically underperforming what it actually could be. And so great technology should actually increase the size of the market, increase the spend, increase the amount of volume flowing through these stores, because it makes it more accessible, desirable, and you can offer new models to attract new kinds of customers. And
well, let's follow on that, this upside potential in this fragmented industry, where it is hard to figure out, are we 5 billion or 10 billion? Do we have an opportunity to grow to 20? You look at some of the market research has some pretty gaudy numbers when it comes to out-of-home laundry. And so with such a focus here at Sense on the delivery space, why don't you bring us up to date on your assessment of where the public is? And it still feels to me like we're in kind of the first inning of the game here. I think there's still a lot of upside, but I'd like to hear your take now that you're a few years in, and with this focus on what is the sky's the limit. There's laundry everywhere.
I think that's I couldn't agree more. I mean, I walk in any city or in any home, like you have one element of where many industries, their core focus is how do I change customer behavior, right? Laundry has it easy from the perspective of if you don't have a washer and dryer, you have no option.
Right.
So you have a built-in customer base where it has nothing to do with preference and choice. It is a human need and a human necessity. Okay. And so that's just kind of I'd say the low-hanging fruit. And what you can do with that customer base to create better experiences, higher rate of returns in terms of how often they're actually visiting your location, how much you can extract out of that customer, gamify their experience, et cetera. There's incremental lift that you can do from that perspective. Why all these other brands, all these other restaurants and small businesses around are creating some kind of referral, loyalty, gamification of their experiences just to try to drive adoption. That sure, somebody who wants Mexican food is probably going to Mexican food. They're probably going to order Mexican food more often if they like it. But if it's gamified, would they do it 5 or 10% more? If they have a reason to do it more often, will they? And I think, tapping into that, I want to feel like I'm getting a benefit, right? It's that price something 15% more and then put it on sale for 15% off, right? And you sell it for the exact same price, but people like to feel like they're getting a deal, getting a discount. So how do you actually, again, treat the consumer in your store, or even treat the consumer, treat your business like every other retailer on Main Street? And so, I think that from the perspective of how big the industry could get, there's the low-hanging fruit in the self-serve. And what we care about is not telling operators, hey, you have to launch pickup and delivery. You have to launch wash and fold. That's why we invest in all of these self-serve products, because that might be the best thing for your business. What we care about is how do we make these additional revenue streams, these additional revenue generation opportunities, the additional ways that you can maybe go up market with the kinds of customers that you can capture for the lowest possible cost. Right. So when we launched our Uber integration, it was like we set the world on fire because it was such a crazy concept to folks. But the idea was we want you as an operator to be able to trial something without risking 6 figures, without risking your business and buying a van and hiring a driver. We're not here to say one's right and the other one's wrong. Some people will tell you should never do X. That's not our position. Our position is try something at the lowest possible cost. If it's right for you, then lean into it. And if it's wrong, you are able to have trial and error. That's what every great business does. You A, B, and beta test and see which products are going to work for your market. And so from the perspective of how large can this business be, how can we create the best customer experience where even if you have a washer and dryer in your home, you send it out more often than you do? I think it's great to have a washer and dryer in your home, and you're going to do the rags, you can do the things you need in a pinch, but in the volume of laundry, send it out, drop it off, do it yourself in a store, whatever that looks like. The volume's there, the ability's there. And if the restaurant space has seen, I don't want to quote numbers because I don't have them off the top of my head, but let's just say huge exponential growth in their element of delivery, and e-com, Cyber Mondays, all the things that are happening digitally versus inside of retail stores, and that's growing exponentially. Minimum wage is increasing, purchasing power may be increasing. You start to think, well, maybe there's a way to learn for our business, no matter the income level of my customer, no matter who I think my customer is, to start to up level and offer at least more optionality.
I mean, everyone has laundry, right? At every tier of the income level and the lifestyle level, and a lot of our members already, they know that they've got customers coming in for self-service that have a machine at home. But it's that old time savings, convenience, clean, safe environment that's close to home, I think as this awareness builds that, I can send out my laundry. Because it's still this revelation for a lot of consumers and trying it for the first time. And, there's a lot of, conversation around, gig laundry and other folks that are out there, individual entrepreneurs. It's maybe easy for me to say, but I just think that all of that is conspiring to just make the public more aware that I can send it out. And then they're going to look for the best provider, which is quite often, I think, every one of our members, one of your customers, is going to be able to deliver on that.
I mean, something that we're looking at trying to do is actually calculate utility spend for in-home laundry, and then do the math for the consumer. Because when you're not actively, when you're not actively spending, you're not actually actively thinking. But if you have to replace something in your washer, dryer, hire a technician, you spend $500 in all that. That's that's a lot of wash and fold.
Or if you got an in-unit laundry pair, in your apartment, and you're paying your own utilities,
energy, electric. Like I think one of our customers had a Tesla battery in their home, and the reason they started sending out their laundry is they'd look at their app and see their battery spike in its usage just for the washer and dryer. So again, I think that there's a huge opportunity. Laundry generally doesn't have a brand, especially in their community. I think the CLA is doing an incredible job of branding store ownership, and that's what's, I think, driving such sophisticated operators, which, by the way, is a huge benefit to the industry. More new operators, sophisticated operators coming from other industries, realizing that they can build something special and unique in this space, elevates the quality, and provides more liquidity options for existing operators should they want it. But there is really very little brand of laundry outside of like detergents. And maybe that's a good brand, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for operators to think about how can they brand laundry as a concept within their community, because that's going to drive the awareness. And a lot of people, if you take the convenience factor out of how nice it is to order your laundry, to order delivery or do wash and fold or things like that, a lot of what consumers prescribe value to is brand and brand quality. And would I use a service more outside of it just of its convenience if I align with the brand and style? And by the way, it's sense that's what we care deeply about. We care deeply about people looking at our product, and even if we had a similar feature set of something, they know based on our brand the quality and experience they are going to get. They know the support they're going to get. They know the relationship and partnership they're going to get. So even if somebody says, hey, the cost of doing my laundry at home is not as high as sending it out, I know the experience at your store is so great. And my relationship with you as my local provider is so great. I have so much trust that takes the value kind of over the top. And we've seen operators here in New York have consumers and their customers, take Ubers with their laundry just to go to their store and not do it in their basement, and not go to the local person that's maybe walking distance, but go out of their way just to bring it to that location because they just align with the experience.
Well, I think there's a bit of a confluence here, even generationally, with some of the folks that are sort of outsourcers, say people in their 20s that are just more inclined to do that. I think those are a lot of the same folks that have proven that they do have these brand ties, like they do, want to do business where they feel aligned. And so I just see that those things sort of coming together to just make this more commonplace, to send out your laundry or go to the laundromat, get it all done at once, because it's a clean, safe, convenient, time saver.
But and I think the other element is it's very easy for an operator to be listening to this podcast and say, well, look, I'm not in New York. My customers are all above the age of 60, and I'm in a more rural area or a less urban environment or a condensed environment, whatever it is. And I think a lot of what I tell folks is, one, I encourage folks to not look at their business in a one-dimensional perspective, because if your customer base currently is 60 and above, can they get more? Or if you know who your customer base is, what a blessing. What a blessing to know your customer demographics. You can then build experiences tailored to what they want. You don't just say, oh, they're 60 and lower income, therefore Coins just works, right? If they're 60 and lower income, then you can actually build marketing campaigns, end user customer experiences, all of these got brand elements targeted to that demographic. And that is where you can actually win. So, look, and wash and fold, pick up and delivery, all those things are super important to us. But we also believe the self-serve business is huge. And that goes from young 20 somethings and earlier to all the way to seniors. And the self-service is the same vein. You don't need to offer wash and fold and pick up and delivery to be a high quality, high price, incredible brand and experience. And so that's, again, it's encouraging operators, if they want to extract more value, they want to grow their total addressable market, they want to increase prices. There's a direct correlation in your ability to do all of those things by investing in technology, modern payments, et cetera, but investing in experience.
Right.
And it's the same reason that we have so many people working at Sense over, if you include all the folks all around the world, I think it's close to 100 now, because we are investing in the experience. If we didn't care about the experience, we could just build a product. And that's what a lot of people do in this space. They just build a great product and you go use it. And that's that. We invest in experience because we think over time, if you have a great experience using our products, when we launch new things, you will adopt. So if I've got a self-serve customer that's been with me for a long time, who's had nothing but incredibly great, safe, convenient, surprise and delight, all these kind of things for on the self-serve side, when I offer wash and fold, those are my wash and fold.
Well, you built up that trust, and they're more likely to, give it a try with you, right? Why wouldn't they have an opportunity to do that? Well, one of the things that gets me excited about a lot of the folks in the industry right now is that they are focused on experience. They're understanding that where else are these folks spending 2 hours a week, every week, probably the same
100%.
day and time. So if you can make that a better experience, and we're not expecting, fireworks and rainbows, but clean, safe, pleasant, maybe an opportunity to get some other things accomplished. I mean, that's really where you're seeing that self-service part of the business grow. And it's not just more people coming in, but people doing more laundry. And honestly, we've seen vent prices
100%
kind of move up to reflect that as well.
I've heard operators, when they increase vent prices, customers say thank you, because people, when they increase the vent price, you can't look, it's really hard to increase vent price and do nothing. Right? Because all I did was increase the price and get the exact same product I was getting before. But if you're investing in your store, you're making it clean, you're making it nice, you're changing the color of the lights, you're adding some plants, you're painting your machines, you're adding decals, you're doing something. Customers will thank you for investing in the store. They'll understand what they're paying for. But we've also seen, and I believe a lot in this, in a cross collaboration on Main Street businesses.
Okay.
Right. So I talk a lot about what we can learn from other industries. It's not just what we can learn, it's what can we collaborate and do with other industries. So, I think there was an operator, I forget where, maybe in Texas, who, had a commercial customer who did all the towels and things for a local massage place. And then in part of their partnership, they set up a massage table and had said, hey, you can pay for a massage while you're waiting for your laundry. We have, weirdly, a lot of laundromat tanning salons. There's in Buffalo a laundromat gym. But it's not just, do you have to, I don't have the space to do X and Y, that's fine. But you can partner with local businesses on Main Street, make your laundromat not a chore, make it a hub to where I'm doing other things. Bring in the local coffee cart, bring in a food truck on the side of the street, so you're actually having lunch with your friends while you're having your laundry done. And that's what you're seeing a lot of across other brands and other experiences. What can my one store do to leverage all the other retailers around me? If I've got a retailer that makes candles, right? This is a shout out to Amy from Tampa Bay Laundry, who has her own Tampa Bay Laundry candle scent. What can you do to get other people to engage with your store, even if your store's got a red Coin Laundry logo and you're never in there, right? You don't need to have all these prerequisites. You don't need to be this kind of person. You don't need to be in any kind of market. Frankly, the lower end markets, the lower income markets are much easier to do these kinds of things in, because people are looking for the cost on these additional services are not extremely huge. You tend to have a little bit more space than in these really dense urban cities. And other retailers are looking for the same thing. How do I grow my business?
Right. No, it's just, well, I've got a vertical laundromat. Well, what does that mean? I tend to tell people, and that's maybe some old school thinking about trying to stick to the basics, like self-service has got to be perfect. And then you're going to try wash, dry, fold, and then maybe you graduate to delivery. But there are these other things, if you look around the neighborhood, that would be a good fit, a good plug-in for what they're doing. So, all right. So now we've established that this industry is amazing, all this great stuff going on, but we should pay some mind a moment or two on some pain points. Like, what are some of the headwinds, pain points? So when you look at it from the feedback you get from operators, what are some of the pain points that you're hearing? And then I would imagine there's some ideas that you might have about solutions or things you might be looking to do to help folks tackle some of those challenges.
Well, I should have asked when this podcast is coming out, so I know what I can say in the things that we're launching the first week of next year. I'll start at a high level that have nothing to do with a product. Well, they actually do have a lot to do with product, but I'm not going to go down that direction yet. But one is, a lot of operators want to buy more stores. And interestingly enough, they're okay paying a higher multiple, because most of the time the store that they're buying, they feel like is drastically underperforming where it could. But a lot of operators want to buy more locations, and as you could probably imagine, I have everybody in our Sense community channel, people texting and calling me saying, Do you know anybody who's selling a store?
I mean, nonstop.
Nonstop. And there is not a great medium for this yet. But I think that's a pain point for somebody who really is like, they have all the momentum, all the passion. They feel like they've got a blank check. They can go buy as many stores as they want, but actually getting the visibility, a lot of the new folks in the space, if you don't have like a construction background in development, a ground up development's hard. It's expensive. It takes a long time. It's a big risk, especially for your first maybe 2 stores. Maybe after a little while, you know what greatness looks like and you want to just build yourself, which I can understand. But I think that's a huge challenge for people because they have all this momentum, all this excitement about the industry. And then how do I get started? Where do I get started? Things like that. I think that I think a lot of things are improving, which is, I think, different than I would have said in the beginning of the year. I think that there is a lot more helpful resources. I think the more conferences, I think the Wash Dry Full conference this year was double the size with really interesting conversations, I thought, really well put together. So I think there are generally some more resources out there. Laundromat ownership has become very trendy. You see it on Instagram. You see it on the podcast with the Cody Sanchez of the world. So I think there is generally some more insight. And I think it's now kind of mainstream that laundromats aren't passive. Finally, it used to be. I think at this point, it's knowledge that you can't just buy a store and go. I think people are understanding more and more what it takes to launch one of these businesses. I think labor is still a constant challenge, and not just labor from a hiring perspective. Labor from I see all the time operators want to get into wash and fold, or they want to try a new self-serve basis, payment system, or they want to but they're worried on their existing employees' willingness to adapt, willingness to change and learn. And so it's a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm worried about hiring. That's not, I mean, hiring is a huge pain point. Don't get me wrong. But once you have them, what are you doing to build culture that's going to inspire that labor to not just retain and stay?
There's not a lot of training that happens for the average attendant starting a job. Let's be honest, there's not a ton of training that's offered.
Not a ton of training that's offered, and and again, it's similar to other tangential businesses to laundromats, but there's not like benefits. There's not other things that I think are invested in, and the stores that I think have their strongest labor pool are the ones where the operators are surprising and delighting and taking them out for lunch and learning about their families and doing Christmas bonuses and, using companies like a friend of mine runs a company called Claire that is same-day payment for hourly workers that gets run into a debit card. Like finding ways where working at a laundromat is not just a job, but is something that I don't feel like I'm working at a laundromat. I feel like I'm working at a company. I'm working at an organization.
Well, that's the fundamental challenge that we've talked about is how do you make working at the laundromat a good job? And it starts with investing in them. Of course, you got to pay competitive wages. You need to do some of those extras. But one of the talks that I give on this topic is I tend to pull some of the recruiting ads from Amazon and from Walmart and from like this is who you're competing with.
Yeah.
And these are not that you can offer the same necessarily, but you need to be aware of what's being offered to that same talent pool that you're trying to draw into your laundromat. And oftentimes it is just those extras, those expressions of care. Often it's flexibility in terms of schedules and other things that can make it more, a better job, frankly, than it was, because you're probably not going to make it a better job solely on hourly wage.
100%. And the hourly wage is inherently already making it a better, like the wage is just increasing anyway. You've got no control. And so I think that, no, I totally agree with you. And look, I look at the same thing in sense. How do I get somebody who could work at Google and Apple and Netflix and, all these amazing tech companies who will pay huge amounts of money where the stock is actually liquid in the public markets, all that. And how do I get them to work at a laundry tech company in the center of Manhattan where they've got millions of other opportunities and people that would love to hire all the people I have here, from implementation specialists to interns to C-level executives. It's the same kind of thing of you got to build a culture. You got to build a feeling and a partnership with folks, not just say, hey, if a laundromat and Walmart pay the exact same amount of money, what else from just a feeling, sentiment, et cetera, are they going to get from one or the other. And the problem with that is that takes time, it takes effort, it takes care. Not to say that operators don't have that, but you don't get in this, you sometimes don't get in this business to build a whole culture and company and, from that dynamic. And so I think that's one of the reasons that, we like to have such a close relationship with our operators is our customer success team is really well equipped with having these conversations. So we have that all the time.
Right.
People ask us in our Sense community, they ask all the time, what are you doing? We have operators that will send, here are the training booklets. Here's my company calendar that I give of when we do events, and here are the family-based events that we do. And I have a friend that runs a pizza shop that brings in pizza, and we say they get discount to host their kids' party. And the list goes on where they get to feel like by working here, I'm getting something more. And that can both change the dynamics of the labor you have in your store. It can also help you find additional talent, particularly in management.
Right. Well, when you spend time thinking about, well, what do all these best operators have in common? What are the things that stand out? And it's a lot of things, but this going above and beyond to take care of their employees is definitely one of the more common threads that runs through that.
And I think it's the same with how do you make your store look, right? There are very thoughtful touches that actually don't cost that much money, are just a little bit more creative and a little bit more effort. But a lot of it you can also front load and do once and build the infrastructure, and it's there. We use a company at Sense where you can give dimes to people, like digital dimes to shout them out for doing something. It costs us $10 a month, or something like per employee to do it. But it's another thing where they get access to buy products in the Sense swag store and some other kind of benefits. Now, again, that's more of a corporate kind of program, but there are ways that you can make a store look beautiful, that you can treat employees really, really well and build great culture. That is a front-loaded effort that it can be carried on by a manager or really just set and forget just on from an infrastructure basis, and doesn't need to cost that much. But the return is really outweighed, and that tends to be like those operators want to be like, are my machines running? Is my store nice? The customer is treated fairly and well. If those three things are happening, set it and forget it. But there are some other areas that, yes, they're annoying because they take more time, attention, and care. You don't see an immediate return, but they're there, and that's what enables you to have higher retention for your employees and have a better but it cascades down, right? If an employee is happy, they create better experiences for your customers. If your customers are happy, they'll spend more and you can charge more.
We're talking about the customers spending 2 hours a week, and your employees are spending whatever, their 20 or their 30 or their 40 hours in there, and if they feel good, that's going to translate to the level of care that they're giving to the customer. So I see a lot of these things going in the right direction. I did want to talk, you mentioned it a moment ago, just all this clamor of excitement, particularly online, geared toward new investors, mom and pop or individual investors that want to be first time laundromat owners. You can imagine I spend a lot of time talking with those folks and trying to point them in the right direction, be encouraging, but also do our best to give them the straight scoop. And so and you encounter a lot of these folks yourself. So the next person that asks you, Alex, I'm thinking about getting into the laundromat business, what are some top couple pieces of advice that you think these folks ought to hear just from what you've learned?
Well, first I tell folks you have to talk to a bunch of operators. You have to talk to existing operators, and you need to pick their brains. It's actually why we've started a kind of ambassador program at Sense for onboarding, where some of our operators, they get paid and we work with them to onboard customers, because it's nice for operators to hear from operators.
Right. They love it. They love it.
And so that's number one. Number two, I say work inside of a store per day. Tell an operator, hey, I'm getting into the industry. Give a couple of your employees a day off. Let me run it. Because your employee's going to call sick at midnight when you got a 500-pound commercial order due the next day from one of your biggest customers, or they're going to say they're on their way and then they're not going to show up and then they quit. You don't know, and you're going to need to go to that store, or something's going to happen. So you got to know what it means to be inside that store. And in a perfect world, you did what I was doing, which was working a bunch of different stores a bunch of times, and know different dynamics. Is it a self-serve only? Is it a walk and pull? Be around as much as possible, and then see if you love it. Because everybody loves the idea of I can make money by not doing that much work. Yeah, I will also do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's my number one advice is go do a bunch of laundry, put that couple of loads of laundry in the car and stop at every store you can find and make sure that, is this really what you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. And
So you're exactly right. It's the idea of making free money sounds pretty good, but there's going to be some hard work associated to it. I also think it's really important to interview customers of the stores that you're visiting. Why did they go to the store? What is their life like? What does their family look like? Understand who's arriving at your location. So all of this is a huge amount of due diligence to really see do you have the love for it. And I tell the same thing to people that want to work at a startup, because that's not for the faint of heart. It's like, understand that you can't shadow as much as you can, but in the interview process, they interview with a bunch of different people, and I say have really raw and authentic questions, because you got to love it to do it. And
it's all consuming.
It's all consuming, and it's not easy, but in many cases, it's all worth it. For one way or the other, you either learned a ton, you made a ton, or you had a ton of fun, right? Hopefully it's all three, but usually at least one of those things is going to happen. And so those are kind of the first pieces of advice that I have. And then also from there, I say, like, what kind of business do you want to build? Do you want to build, are you trying to build, do you want to have 100 stores? Do you want to have a couple, and that's the idea, and you want to extract as much margin as possible and have a solid business and maybe exit in 10 years? Is it somewhere in between? You maybe cap out at 20, package them up and sell it. Like, what are your ambitions getting into the space? Because it'll change how you think about technology, brand, locations, etc. And again, it's the same message that we have to our company. What kind of business do we want to build? Why do we raise venture capital? Why do we do the things we do? Because we want to go in a certain direction that's going to enable us to be an all-in-one solution, empower garment care and repair local businesses and independent operators. And I couldn't do that in the same way by just doing it ourselves, bootstrapping and building a point of sale. Like, we had to do more. And that was our ambition to do. And so I think when an operator really understands the industry, understands their employees and what it's like to work in the store, understands their customers, and has a game plan for what they want to build, at least holistically. And if and I've heard operators say, I don't really know what I want to do. Say, okay, well, how would this contribute to your life? And how do you see your life with and without this business? Start to ask a little bit more questions, even to get them more high level. Once that's all there, there's enough blueprints out there with the Dave Menz, the Jordan Berrys, the Waleeds, the Cody Sanchez's, people that can help you evaluate what a good site looks like in your demographic data, and then you buy your store. But those are kind of the core tenets to me that get an engaged operator who can serve their customers well, who knows what it's going to take to run that business when their employees don't show up, and has enough conviction over diving headfirst.
Well, I mean, you said understand. And to me, I'm just thinking about data. And I don't know that we've had a conversation yet where we didn't spend a little bit of time on data. And we know that for lots of reasons, there's been a bit of a dearth of data, to say the least, in a mom and pop fragmented industry like ours. So where do you kind of see the state of our ability to gather data at the store level and putting that data to use? Like I said, understanding how the business works and then making better business decisions that follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Whenever anybody at Sense, or at least me, talks about data, there's always, I can hear the tinfoil hats being taken out, because there's
unraveled.
Yes, exactly. There's enough people that think that big tech is coming in and doing something with their data. And I think we had a great panel on this at the Wash Dry Fold conference, because I think once people get over that, the fact that, of course, Sense, and I would assume, I haven't read the terms of service of any of our competitors, but at least at Sense, like, we have a data infrastructure and securities team. We have the most robust data management, firewalls, protections, really, really intense data ownership guidelines, consumer, even California Consumer Protections Act data, kind of terms and management to be compliant, and all that stuff to make sure the operators know the data is theirs. Be destroyed at any point. We don't have any access to their data. It has to be managed correctly. It's safe and secure within the products of ours that they use. I can't speak for any other platforms. But once they get over that, and they realize that every other industry, they're not unique in terms of every SMB has the same concerns on any of the tech companies they use. It's the same thing. Once they get over that, you can start to then dive deep into the actual insights. And again, we I care very deeply about the why, right? So once our business is like grow, manage, and understand. Those are the three pillars of how Sense can help you. But actually what I really care about is the why. Sure, you can download a report and you can see all the insights that you want.
Are you going to do anything with it?
Are you going to do anything with it? And then what's the underlying insights underneath that? And what connects it all together? Why did a customer spend $150 at your business, right? Get a little bit of a deeper insight into their behavior. And that's where there are some really interesting tools that can actually, using the phone kind of clock in and Wi-Fi connections, they can see when they visited your store, what other businesses did they go to, right? There are some really cool Wi-Fi tools that enable that. Some other cool demographic data tools that can enable that. But certainly data is the key for you to operate in an intelligent way, for you to understand pricing, services, where your customers are coming from, why they're visiting, and what are they enjoying most? What kind of machines are they using the most?
Well, I think one of the underrated elements of having that data on board is the valuation process and getting your store sold at the maximum, as opposed to, maybe a middle of the road valuation, because you can show the more sophisticated buyer who's coming into the market that we're coaching, and your coaching is to ask the right questions and do proper due diligence. And if you're the operator that, no, I've got the data, it's right here. Like, no, you can see it.
And not just the data, but also data that maybe this industry from an acquisitions basis has never seen. I haven't, but I again, I'm only one data point. I haven't seen in an acquisition process of a store, or anecdotally from operators, a customer retention metric. Right? What's my average customer retention? What's my average customer per customer visit? What's my lifetime value of an average customer across my 3 revenue streams? Right.
Well, most don't know who their customers are, period.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
You got to start somewhere.
So fair enough. But I think, that's from a valuation standpoint, certainly an extremely meaningful component to where you can actually get into the underlying pieces of why can't a laundry business trade at 10 times? If I know that I have 95% customer retention and across my 3 revenue streams, here's my margin across each, and here's the growth rate on a per customer spend and lifetime value basis over the last 3 years. I'm seeing that my lifetime value is increasing by 15% across these 2 revenue. Like, those are the things that actually make a business trade differently.
That sort of upend the traditional laundromat valuation, structure to the positive.
For sure.
Because again, people coming in from other industries, believe it or not, may value what we do at a higher level based on some of these metrics. So it's not necessarily the same approach that we've seen in the past. So
100%.
It has that additional value there, but I know I'm preaching to the choir on that.
I mean, we think of it in the same way. We need to be tracking these things for our business on what, are people churning from Sense? What are they using of our products? What's our average customer satisfaction score? What are those things that help increase the value of our business? And if you would invest in the public markets in a POS or any SaaS or any company, the same metrics that you look at as a public company, as a, retail investor or anything, you want to see in your business, and that can drive your value. And then also, I've also seen operators are like, I don't want that data because maybe it's not that great, and I don't want it to go move my valuation up and down. And if that's the case, if you're from the sales perspective, fine, but people are going to find that out, right? And moreover, when you have access to that data, even if you're not trying to sell your business, you can position your business. You might say, I want to sell the business today. Then you look at these core metrics and these core data points, and you realize, wow, if I just improve these areas, I might be able to get another 2 to 3 turns on my EBITDA multiple. All right, well, now I know what my game plan is for the next year. Now I know what 2025 goals should be, because I have access to the data, and I'm not just trying to grow revenue by 10%. There's a chance that if you grow revenue by 10%, your margins could get worse and other elements of your business could suffer. So if you kept revenue flat, but you were able to, change this, another certain kind of profile, how does that impact your valuation?
Well, we try to encourage people to look at a lot of those business decisions through the lens of valuation. All right. So you have a question about equipment replacement, or you're pondering a vendor price change, or you're adding a service or taking a service away, and try to bring people back to, well, what does this mean at a X multiple for your business?
100%. I mean, I think of that as recurring revenue also. right? The laundromat revenue, small elements of it are recurring.
Well, I mean, we get this car wash comparison all the time about the valuations that have happened in car wash and how the subscription model supercharged that. And I've tried to make the case to some of the private equity folks, like, we are a recurring business. Like, we don't need to be on a subscription. Like, it's happening. They come in every Thursday at 4, every Saturday at 9, every Monday at 8. Like, customers on a self-service basis are on that regular.
Well, my challenge is, and the answer I think is a technological one, but my challenge is, well, if that's the case, why don't we turn it into a subscription?
Right.
Why don't we kind of trigger some of those opportunities on a self-service, full service pick 'em delivery basis? Why aren't we trying to move customers into a subscription for pick 'em delivery, for wash and fold, and for self-serve? The idea of a subscription for the business is it's guaranteed revenue and there's a benefit to the consumer, right? Maybe not always, but instead of coming and buying something once, if you buy it on a recurring basis, I give you a discount, right? And so now you're saying, well, I'm getting value. So yeah, I'll pay for the subscription and I'll pay that money up front. And that's kind of, I think, some of the opportunity that our space has is, instead of having to make the case when the data shows that this is a subscription business, let's put it on a subscription so the operators now have that recurring revenue. Let's make it official. Let's make it possible. And so again, I think that is, now there hasn't been a system that facilitates self-serve subscription based until there is a better way to say that. But in pickup and delivery and in all these other kind of areas, I think that is that those are some of the things I think we're going to see change. I think the laundry industry has had to justify a lot of the elements of it to say that, no, this is a great business. No, all these things are true. I think in the next year or two, it's going to need no justification, because the opportunity to do things that other industries have done that have attributed huge multiples are going to be possible here. Then the difference is going to be who takes advantage of it, right? That the tools are there. Who's going to be able to leverage them?
Well, it's probably a good time to start talking about the future, and because you're in this tech startup, and you've made all this progress in the last 4 years in an exciting business. So, where are you going to be in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? What's your vision? Because I know you got a high motor, like, you got ideas, like, I'm not asking you to give anything away, but just where do you see this company a few years from now?
Well, it's hard, startups and tech companies. We're almost not even a startup now, right? So I guess the tech companies, right? But tech companies, everything's in dog years, for us. The iPhone barely existed with 14, 15 years ago.
So if I ask about 3-4 years from now, I might as well be asking about 30.
Exactly. It's hard. Look, we have a very core mission that has been exactly the same forever. That's the beauty of our businesses. Nothing has been a surprise for us. Maybe it's a surprise how quickly we got somewhere and the road it took to get there. But we knew that this was if we could execute, we knew that where our business is today was an inevitable thing. And so, our mission has always been helping Garmin Care SMBs power laundry day in America. How can the local independent operator power laundry day across laundry, dry cleaning, tailoring, etc., but the laundromat in particular? How can we help them power laundry day in America? And all of our products, all of our hiring, all of our initiatives, all of it is based around that, right? And so in the first week of the new year, we'll be having, I think, will be the most game-changing product that we've offered. And dare I say, outside of the equipment manufacturers, there's a lot of amazing technology that comes from that side. But from the software vendor's perspective, I think, inclusive of all the products we had built before, this product will be the most transformative that the industry has seen from a software perspective. And what it's going to enable an operator to do, both from a quality of life basis, from a customer experience basis, from an employee perspective, and from a cost savings and revenue generation basis. This product has been a dream of mine for a long time.
Cool.
And so I think what I want Sense to continue to push towards is point of sale, self-serve kiosks. All of those are a gateway for us to provide critical need to have technology in a location. And then it's sitting down and with our thousands of operators and saying, let's dig deeper into what the opportunity looks like with you, that now that you have real control of your data and insights, how can we help you better grow, manage, and understand your business on an ancillary basis? Right, in the products that you have, in the logistics infrastructure, in the way you provide customer support and service, in the way you get access to capital, and all of these different areas that, again, are pretty fragmented. There aren't a lot of options for folks. And I think that's where Sense continues to go. We need to make sure that our core products are the best in class, extremely reliable, and have all the core functionality. But I say, you maybe buy Sense POS for what we have today, but you really stay with us for what we continue to build tomorrow and the next day. And so, I can't give too much information, not because I don't want to, because
we need to have a part two coming soon.
Exactly. I think I love to share all the things we're doing because I don't care if somebody copies us. I know they're going to copy us anyway.
Yeah.
Every single feature, every single product, every single thing we've done, somebody has copied at one point. And sometimes we get inspired as well. It's not just a one-dimensional. But we will be making this announcement on January 7th.
Okay.
Will be our big splash about this.
Nice.
And I'll be very excited to get here.
So in terms of wrapping this up, Alex, I want to talk about you. Like, what keeps you in the hunt? What keeps you motivated? What keeps the fire in your belly to keep pushing forward? Because I know it's not been easy.
It is, well, nothing's easy. Nothing worthwhile
Nor should it be,
is, and nor should it be. And when things are easy, I think it's easy to become complacent also. And sometimes we make our life more difficult ourselves. All of it is generally self-inflicted. But I think, as I said, this is, a probably obnoxious description, but my dad was an orchestral conductor. My mom was a harpist, kind of very, very musical family, very creative, focused family. And as I got more into the tech world, and I felt like that as a kid, but as I got more into tech and corporate and this and that, I felt like I kind of lost a bit of that. But the more I get to do things like this, like every day at Sense for me is a creative expression, new ideas, talking to operators, problem solving. All this feels like just a creative exercise, not a job. And so, I don't think about every day like what drives me, because I don't think about being driven. I think about like this is as much of a hobby as it is a job.
It's your state of being.
Exactly. This is just the normal state of like what I love to do every day. So I don't think about, and maybe I should think a little bit more of structure of what's my game plan every single day. But every day feels like I do feel like a kid in a candy store, even when I want to rip my hair out. But I also think that in any business I've been a part of historically, what I love about this is it's real. It's real people. It serves real customers. It's out in the world. It's real problems we get to solve. We get to see the impact of it. And so it's kind of like the job is never done, because we know there's so much more to do. And there's such an insane opportunity here, not just for, I think, for Sense and the business that we're building, but for operators. What I've seen in the last 4 years that I've been in the industry maybe since 2018, but building Sense in the last 4 years, in a bit. I mean, the momentum is insane. Like I think you have to be dead not to be kind of motivated or excited or feel the energy when you're talking to operators, especially the folks that have been in for the last 2 to 3 years that are like, oh my God, like
this is the best thing they've ever found.
Yeah, this has saved their lives. This has been transformative for their families. And us being able to play the most small role in that, and to build these kind of partnerships and relationships with operators where we get to have been a partner of theirs along the way. I mean, it's incredible. That to me is the greatest driver. That to me is the reason to do all the things we're doing.
No, and it shows. And then just from my own perspective, that it's just so humbling to get a chance to work with entrepreneurs and try to, again, play a small part in trying to help them get what they're after. And it's just endlessly motivating and inspiring and rewarding. And so you've orchestrated a wonderful business here, Alex, and we thank you for all of your support of the association and things we're trying to do, and we can't wait to hear more about the next chapter.
There is always more to come.
All right.
So I'll be looking forward to more of these. And thank you so much for coming and for all the amazing work that everybody at the CLA does. It's a driving force to all this incredible change. And it's a privilege for us to continue to be a strong partner of you guys, and excited to do more with the CLA and the industry in the future. So thanks so much.
Outstanding. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.